this is totally an experiment, so if you can't hear, I really, really apologize, but let's hope this works. All right. And awesome, thanks, Sean. Hey, Sean. That's the Sean I think it is. Hey, bud. If it's not, hi. Anyway, this will be posted later on our YouTube channel. That's all stuff.
Hello, Moto.
Yeah. Okay, everybody, we're gonna get started. Ready to quiet your conversation. Do you understand about me? So this will be recorded for the phone, you know. Before we get started, say, oh, great, wow, we do have a lot of people here. Thank you, Via. So I'm going to get us started. Ready? Ready? Excellent. All right, bye, buddy. Greeting neighbors. I wrote down a few words. It's been that kind of day. I'm not Ariana. I lived here in the West Ridge, Rockridge Park, you know, both sides. Community for over 20 years. I'm the founder of the West Ridge Action Network. We started in 2017 when neighbors wanted to gather to connect together to protect each other from what we thought would be an onslaught of Trump-enforced ICE raids. When that onslaught did wait almost 10 years to hit our neighborhood, causing many of us to wear whistles and stand guard community and for our country. So I really do mean it when I say thank you for joining tonight. Thank you for the participants for hosting us, for the support forum. Being here and you watching, I hope means you still fully believe in our democracy. Last year, our stalwart leader, Jan Schakowsky, announced her retirement. And the West Ridge Action Network held 3 meet and greets over the summer where we met over a dozen candidates. Tonight, along with West Ridge Community Organization, so thank you, Evelyn and Pamela, for helping me and working with me on this forum. We present a forum who we believe are the top 6 candidates who confirmed to be here in attendance. We picked 7 because this forum of 15 people would take all day. This moment begs for urgency. So for our leaders, we need our leaders to be urgent, protecting and rebuilding a democracy we can be proud of. For community members to stay and become engaged in holding our elected officials accountable. I'm also district counselor, so I know a thing or two about holding people accountable and being held accountable. The candidates, by being in attendance, have agreed to ground rules, which I will sum up to be: don't be assholes. I'm not going to read all the rules. That's the summary. Don't attack each other. We want We want to know how you are going to be in community with us and how you would govern with and for us. We are excited to have this forum moderated by Vic Duffy. Nick is the senior editor of investigations at Black Club Chicago, a nonprofit news organization that covers the city and its neighborhoods. He is also a resident of the 9th Congressional District. So, a little housekeeping. If you're not already found it, the restrooms are out in the hallway. Take a right. Candidates will introduce themselves. You have a chance to submit questions when you RSVP. There's also index cards in the back and little tiny golf pencils. Andrew and Evelyn are going to be wandering around, so if anybody would like to submit their questions on the index card, please do so. And then we will review them and hand them to Nick. Please hold your applause to the end of each segment, especially if you stand somebody up on the stage. There are people in this gym and watching over Zoom who still do not know who they're going to vote for. So please don't drown out those people who are trying to make up their mind today. At the end of the evening, if you can, please stay and help hold up the chairs. This is a volunteer event, so thank you so much. One last thing, early voting in person and by mail begins February 12th, and you can already request your vote by mail ballot if you go to the Chicago Board of Elections website. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to Ben.
Thank you. Okay, I just want to, before we get going, we want to spend as little time as possible on rules and things like that and get to our discussion, our debate here. But I just want to stress what was just said about our rules. I'm going to revise it a little bit. Please don't applaud till we're done with the forum. Don't holler. Don't call on anybody's mother, anybody's father, family. We want to spend the time on the discussion. We want to hear from the candidates. We want to hear from you questions. So just to be courteous and respectful to everybody, some people are undecided, some people are very firmly decided. That's awesome. But hold the applause, hold the hollers. Do that after the comments. Thank you. All right, let's just jump right in here. We are going to get each, just so everybody knows, each candidate is going to have 2 minutes to answer each question on the way. So we're just keeping it very consistent. And Pamela in front has volunteered to be a timekeeper. You all can't see that, but that's important for the candidates. So keep an eye on the timekeeper. If you end up getting long-winded or sort of filibuster, she will inform you, and then I don't want to be a jerk up here. There we go. Whistle. And I'll cut you off if I have to, but I don't think we'll. So let's get started by asking each of the candidates to introduce themselves. And we're going to start by going alphabetical order, and then at the end with summary statements, concluding remarks, go in the reverse. So, are we doing the play? No play? Of course. Again, we're not taking direct questions from the audience anymore, just as a matter of course, so you keep your questions and comments to yourself until the end. Okay. Let's go back to what I'm saying in introductions. Kat, you can go first. You have 2 minutes.
Oh, there's 2, so there should be. We're supposed to be sitting as cool. Hi everyone, I'm Kat Abulzadeh. I am a researcher and journalist who covers the far right. My work dissecting, analyzing, and communicating far-right narratives and extremism have led to me helping getting Kitover Congressman fired from Fox News. All right.
Stop it. That's it. We ask you to refrain from commenting. We ask you not to be an asshole. You violated both of them in the first minute.
I got a few extra seconds. Blossoms. I'm Tom Gazale, researcher and journalist who covers the far right. My work helped get Tucker Carlson fired from Fox News, triggered Elon Musk into deposing me, and most recently, because all the people I used to cover are now the users that run our government, have been federally indicted for the work I have been doing protesting ICE. I decided to run for office because I felt like many of our leaders do not take the threat of the far right seriously. And I know that because I and my colleagues have been warning them about where this moment would lead. And now we are here. I also decided to run not just because of my track record fighting and winning against fascism, but because I think we can do politics differently. For one, we use our campaign resources to not just reach voters, but materially improve their lives. Our campaign office in Rogers Park, Clark and Mud, doubles as a mutual aid hub, and our events often serve dual purposes to help feed and clothe people around the community. We are also lucky to be the only campaign in this region 75% supported by small dollar donations, with the most individual in-district donors of any campaign. It has been a crazy ride, and thank you so much to anyone who supported. Our top two issues are what I call anti-authoritarianism and basic existence. Anti-authoritarianism is exactly what it sounds like. The house is on fire, and we have to put out the fire to redo the house. And basic existence is the radical idea that everyone should be able to afford housing, groceries, and healthcare with money left over to save and spend. Because a single-payer healthcare system, protections against price gouging, and building more housing with better incentives to work with local businesses actually save us money while having better outcomes. Chicago is where my family started our life in America. It is my home, and I will do everything in my power to continue fighting for it as I have been. I want a representative for my entire life to put everything on the line to protect us, and I think that's what we deserve. I often say we deserve good things, and we don't have to settle, and that is the thesis for my campaign. If anything we talk about here hasn't answered any of your questions, please come to me after this forum. I used to cover Nazis for a living, so it is impossible to offend me. Thank you. No hooting and hollering, all right, please. Thank you. But you can laugh. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Bushra Amiwala, and it's great to be here this evening. I currently serve on the Board of Education for Skokie School District 73.5. This is the Zoom mic that I have to hold as well. My story is incomplete without my parents' story first. My parents came to the United States from Karachi, Pakistan in the 80s, and in pure immigrant fashion, with a $20 bill and lots of dreams. They built their life in Illinois 9, brick by brick. My dad is a small business owner, my mom is a teacher, and growing up, I attended the top and bottom ranked public schools in this congressional district. And it was the differences in those education systems I saw growing up that became a guiding principle for me. It literally changed my life. So now when running for the U.S. House of Representatives, the top three priorities I'm hoping to advocate for is one, Medicare for all, universal health care. It's the logical mode for our country to adopt to, and there's a reason why from the 33 modern countries in the world, all of them haven't except for us. Second is supporting immigration with a clear path to citizenship. Folks who come here on a work visa, who find themselves getting laid off overnight with no notice. Folks that come here on a student visa, who don't find employment within a year of graduation. And then third, my story does start and stop at education. It's increasing federal funding for public education so your zip code doesn't determine the quality of life and access to education your family receives. I'm the only candidate in this race with experience in the public, private, and nonprofit sector, so that means I know how to do three things: how to manage budget, problems, and people. I'm looking forward to getting to know all of you with just facial expressions, again, no clapping or anything. And thank you all to the Westridge Action Network for hosting today. Have great fond memories here at Warren Park Fieldhouse, including every August 14th and 15th, Pakistan and Indian Independence Day, respectively. Thank you.
Good evening, Westridge. Right, your responses. I can tell you're excited. My name is Phil Ian, and I am not a politician. I do have a lifetime of service. I was an FBI agent for 21 years. During those 21 years, I led hostage negotiation teams. I fought terrorism and public corruption. But my start did not begin in the FBI. My service began 1988. You may recall, I'm glad to see so many folks from Moms Demand Action. Thank you for being here. That the first school shooting in America took place at Winnipeg, Illinois. A deranged woman went into a classroom, opened fire, and second graders. In the course of her escape, she crashed her car near a nearby, and she held a family hostage. That was my family. I was shot and attempted to disarm this woman, Lori King, and nearly killed. I struggled for my life in the hospital for weeks. And just before I left the hospital, the doctor who saved my life sat on my bedside and asked me what I was doing about this. And I have never stopped working to keep families, children, and communities safe. That journey took me to the FBI. It took me to law school here in DePaul. It took me to Kansas. It took me to New York City. And it took me back here home. My parents grew up in this district. They met on the Foster Avenue bus. I came back here to raise my family. I am in this race because there is nothing more important than saving our democracy and holding this administration. I look forward to your support during this.
Good evening. My name is Daniel Biss. I have the honor of serving as mayor of Evanston, and I'm running for Congress to fill the extraordinary shoes of Jan Schakowsky because, you guys, we are in an emergency. We are in an emergency, the likes of which would have been hard to believe even had it been described to us 6 months ago. Fundamental attacks, our neighbors being kidnapped, people being shot by federal agents in broad daylight, but core of our alleged values being dismantled before our very eyes. I'm running because I think there are two things that we need in this moment. We need someone who has demonstrated the ability with backbone and courage and pushing through opposition and ruffling feathers if necessary to fight and win and get things done inside a government. And we need to acknowledge that you don't overturn an authoritarian menace just inside a government buildings. You need a movement of people in the streets rising up and demanding in one voice a fundamental change. And therefore, we also need someone who comes out of movement organizing and is prepared to put their body on the line in the streets. I am the only person in this race who's fought and won change inside of government and is fighting out in the streets with you. And that is what is at stake in this moment. Perhaps that's why Jan Schakowsky gave me the extraordinary honor of endorsing our campaign. I take that very, very seriously because of what she has represented for this whole community throughout her career of service. We need someone who can follow that legacy. I'm here today to ask for your support in this race and for your partnership in governing collectively to make sure we build the progressive America that we actually deserve. Thank you very much.
Please hold off the comments there. No, we said throughout the forum. Thanks.
You want to be out?
No,
Then, thank you. Well, good evening, everyone. I'm State Senator Laura Fine. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I probably served as the same senator in the 9th District for the past 7 years, and I was in the Illinois House for 6 years before that. We are in a pivotal moment in our nation's history. Our families are under assault by this administration. Our families who are currently living on the economic edge. I am the only candidate in this race who has taken on and won some of the biggest fights against the biggest special interests in our state and in our country. 15 years ago, when my husband was driving to work, he was hit head on. As a result of that accident, we were lucky to survive, but we were buried in hundreds of thousands of dollars in medical debt because of the fact that our insurance tried to cancel our policy. But they picked a fight with the wrong woman because I made making it right my life's work. And And in the Illinois legislature, I've been named the most effective senator in our state, only second to our Senate president. This is a time of action. We need people who do the work, not just talk about the work, but actually get it done. I've been named Legislator of the Year by dozens of groups, including disability groups, mental health groups, environmental groups. I've also been, as I mentioned, named one of the most effective senators in our state. I passed 190 laws that most likely have improved your lives. With that, I have 100 endorsements from colleagues that I currently work with or used to work with because they know the quality of my work. They know that I am out here working to make your life better. And that is exactly what I want to do when you send me to Washington. So thank you so much.
Maybe you hold it so Zoom can hear better.
How's that? Good evening, everybody. I'm State Senator Mike Simmons, and I represent this neighborhood, Rogers Park, Westridge, Edgewater, Uptown, and Lincoln Square in the Illinois Senate. And in 2021, I became the first openly gay person to ever serve in the Illinois Senate and the first Ethiopian American. And I beat the establishment when I became a state senator. People told me to pound sand when I said I wanted to represent my community that raised me. And we pulled off an upset. People said it was a fluke. Less than 5 years later, I have passed 50 bills in the Illinois Senate. Legislation that clears medical debt for 400,000 households in the state. Legislation that creates the first child tax credit ever in the state. And a whole bevy of legislation that combats the hate that is increasing in our communities and protects access to reproductive rights. I am running for Congress because I am from this community. I grew up just a mile south of here in Foster and Lincoln, the son of an Ethiopian asylum seeker that had just gotten to this country and an African-American mother, like so many people in our community. And I grew up in a 3-flat public housing building in that community, and I am now a proud homeowner in this community right at the corner of Western and Tui, fighting for and representing you in the Illinois Senate every day. I'm running for Congress to be a strong voice for this community. I'm running for Congress to be on the ground with you. I think it's important that we have a representative that is not going to forget this community when they get to Washington. And I will always be with our neighbors at the block parties, at the senior centers, at the affordable housing buildings, making sure that your voice is amplified in Washington as we fight to dismantle ICE, to make sure that we have increase the federal minimum wage, and make sure that we protect our communities from the repressive and fascist violence that Donald Trump is unleashing on communities, diverse, beautiful communities like ours every day. I'm a product of this community. I look forward to fighting for this community, and I humbly and proudly ask you for your consideration and for your vote today. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you, all the candidates. Appreciate you, your answers. Appreciate you. So, if you all haven't realized, we're trying to juggle multiple mics up here, so we'll hopefully get it right by the end of the quarter. But thanks to all the candidates for your introductions, and thank you all for adhering to it. So at least some people in the room are trying to follow the rules. Appreciate them. All right, let's just dive right into some of the issues here and some of the things that have been talked about already in this race. It's expensive to campaign for office, especially for federal office. So can each of you tell us here who are the sources of your campaign money? Who are the leading donors? And what does that say about how you would represent this district? Busher, do you want to start us off?
The funders and sources of money for my campaign can be answered in one word: the people. But for my remaining 1 minute and 50 seconds, I will add a bit more color and say that most of the donations that I've received, a lot of it are from net new donors, people who have never donated to a political candidate before. So when I talk about increasing civic participation, yes, voting is one thing. Yes, being election judge is one thing. But people who are financially able to give to a candidate who never have before is inviting people to the mold and the beautiful way, I guess, everywhere, and the ugly way that campaigns function. And unfortunately, unless you're independently wealthy, you have to kind of raise that money on your own. What I am proud to say is every single couples max I have earned has come from the state of Illinois, and 80% of that has actually been from Illinois' 9th Congressional District. So it's not just the people, but it's the voters. And that means I'm declining any corporate PAC, special interest PAC, bully PAC, and third, fourth adjective PAC related to any other group whose interest is beyond the voters and the people of Illinois' 9th Congressional District. And I'll sound repetitive if I say it again. It's a great summary where my campaign funds come from. Thank you.
Okay, but who's your top donor? Who are your top donors?
Oh, you want me to name the people?
That'd be great.
Sure.
We want specifics.
Oh, okay, sure. I'll name some of the people. So first is we have the Rana family. They own the Sahara Healthcare nursing home centers in Morton Grove, and they live in Morton Grove as well. We have folks in the Wilmette neighborhood. We have the Ahmed family, and we've had siblings from that group that have also given the couples max contribution. We have had let's see, I'm trying to go down the calculus, but yeah, I mean, I can name some of our smaller. My smallest donation is 50 cents, actually. So shout out to that. That came in an envelope from a 4-year-old. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for the specifics. Phil, do you want to go next? And then I'll interject it. I think it's great you're all standing up. You don't, in my opinion, you don't have the obligation to do that, but proceed as you see fit.
Thank you for this question. My campaign, as you might imagine, not being a politician, not having prior campaigns and donors who I have associated with in the past, are my friends and family, like you, but people. And I have no problem naming the top 25 donors to my campaign. Are you ready for this? I'm just going to give last names. Andrew. 25 times. I come from a large family, in the middle of 7 kids. I was my mother's favorite, but I've started with my family. My wife and I have invested in this campaign too. We wouldn't ask our friends, our family to do this without us putting our own pocketbook behind this. Money needs power in our political system. You know that. You know that is what's one of the things that's wrong. It's the way that our map, this gerrymandered map that has Westridge with Algonquin, this is a map that was designed by politicians to pick voters. It's part of the problem. The money in politics is part of the problem. And in this race, there's a lot of money going around from national groups that are helping decide this race. You need to take the power back. I do have association with one political action committee. Very proud of it. The only endorsed candidate for Congress in Illinois by the Brady Pact. By Jim and Sarah Brady. I walked the halls of Congress with in 1988. Sarah wrote my law school application recommendation. And I'm very proud that they've endorsed me, and I would be very proud if they would provide financial support, which I don't expect.
Is part of the problem.
I'm not my mother's favorite child, but she does love me also. I am proud to be supported by individuals across this district who I've worked with, who support my agenda, who see me in the fight and believe in me. I don't have my donor list memorized. It's all public information. Thinking about some of the people who've given the legal maximum in Evanston are, like, for example, Chuck Lewis, who's been working hard to advocate for reparations on the local level, and I think is impressed by my work on that issue, or Joan Rothenberg, who's a passionate environmental advocate and is excited about my work on that issue. I don't accept corporate PAC money. I proudly accept labor PAC money, and I'm proud to have the support of a number of labor unions, some of which have financially supported my campaign as well, including being endorsed by the AFL-CIO of Illinois and the Chicago Federation of Labor. But I do think there's two things here that are really important. Number one, It's really important that we have candidates who are accountable to our community. I am the only one among the top tier of candidates, most of whose money comes from Illinois. The only one. That strikes me as important. But additionally, we can talk about how much the system stinks all we want. We need to fix it. In Evanston, I fought to create and successfully created public financing for mayoral elections. It's the only public financing for any elections in Illinois. I created it. It benefits anybody who would run against me, but it's really important. And we have to actually do more than talk about how money is polluting politics. We have to fight and win to reform our system. I've done that. And when you send me to Congress, I'm going to do it again.
Thank you. If you were to look at who my top donors are, many of my donors come from Lakeview, come from Evanston, come from Skokie. These are the top donors that are within my district. And you could go on because it's all reported publicly. You could go online to see who has donated to your campaign. Anytime somebody donates to my campaign, it makes me feel very proud because they are donating to my record. And that's a record of someone who stood up to some of the biggest bullies in Springfield and got the job done. I have the record of taking health insurance, for example. When I first came into office, we had a system that was stacked against the consumer. Because of my legislation over the past 13 years, we have one of the most consumer-friendly states when it comes to healthcare in the country. That's what people are donating to when they donate to my campaign. I'm a true environmentalist. I chair the Green Caucus, and I'm chair of an organization called the Great Lakes Legislative Caucus that works to make sure that our lake is clean for drinking water, for recreation, and for economics. I'm proud of everybody from those organizations and the environmentalists who donate to my campaign because my record shows that I work for the people and I work for the people in my district. And with this donation, they are getting a record of 13 years that they can count on.
I don't look like a typical member of Congress. I represent Donald Trump's everything that he's trying to erase right now in America. I'm gay, I'm black, son of an Ethiopian immigrant, and I'm proudly from this community. And I'm an effective legislator. And so I'm really proud to say that my first donor was my grandmother, who raised me in public housing just south of here in Foster and Lincoln. And, you know, even now, as I look through the list, I don't have a lot of max donors. That's just the reality because I don't represent the establishment. I don't take money from corporations. I don't roll out my carpet for lobbyists. I represent people. And I'm proud that most of my donors come from the 9th District. They're small dollar donors. They're people from places like Westridge who saw me at the forum, decided to give us $20. Someone from Uptown who maybe saw my social media and gave us $9. Someone from Evanston who decided I like this guy, I'm going to give him a shot. They put up my yard sign, they wrote a bigger check. I'm proud that one of my biggest donors is Gretchen Sisson, who is an abortion author who's written books about reproductive rights, who called me and was proud of the work that I've done in the Illinois Senate to hold the line to protect reproductive rights, where I've actually whipped votes of other complacent Democrats that didn't want to vote to repeal arcane abortion laws, where I stood up to my own colleagues in the Democratic caucus to introduce legislation to make this a sanctuary state for transgender families that are fleeing surrounding states. I was the person that fought back against complacent Democrats in the Illinois Senate and actually passed legislation making this now a proud sanctuary for trans families, and a blue dot on an island where abortion rights have been taken away in surrounding states. That's some of the people that have supported me so far. I think that it's really important to say that I'm proud to be sitting up here as a strong, viable candidate who has a strong message that resonates with people all across the 9th District, and money is not going to buy the seat. I look forward to taking my message to the voters and winning their trust and doing a damn good job for them in Congress. Thank you.
Years that they can
and actually pass
like
most of the people up here, we don't, or like everyone up here, I don't have a running list of my donors with me. I did reach into my bag to grab my phone. My campaign manager shook her head so hard. But we are supported by over 55,000 donors with an average donation under $30, $29.95, which is pretty cool. We also have the most individual in-district donors of any campaign in this race. That is not the most in-district money because, we don't know a lot of rich people. But a $7,000 check and a $20 donation still equal one vote. We are very proud to be able to be such a grassroots campaign. We also have abandoned this practice called call time, which everyone, including myself up here, does. Elected officials and candidates can spend as much as 8 hours a day doing it. Call rich people and you ask for money. No one likes it. We can all tell you that. No one likes doing it. No one likes getting the calls. So in our campaign, we have now started doing live streaming instead. 6 hours a week we live stream. We get $1 donations here, $5 donations there, playing video games and answering questions honestly and transparently. I encourage you to tune in. It's a lot of fun, and it also means that we've freed up a ton of time to be able to connect with voters rather than sitting in a room and calling rich folks. Additionally, I have learned as a working class candidate that, oh my God, it is so hard to run for office if you're not already rich. Like, unbelievably hard. I have a cat. I don't even have kids. I don't know how people do it, especially if you're a single parent. We need public financing of elections. We need the ability to use campaign funds to help people be able to support themselves. I could go on a whole rant about campaign finance for literally hours. Check out my live streams if you're interested in that. But overall, I think what we need is to have a cleaner campaign system that doesn't mean that people who are trading stocks while they're in Congress get to use that money so that way they can trample over other grassroots community-based candidates. Also, twitch.tv/CatAlcazale, tune in.
All right, thanks everybody. As probably most of you know in the audience, just following up on this theme, you can pretty much get any amount of money you want to any candidate, if not directly, then through PACs, super PACs, or whatever. But the upside is that
This is about how we do democracy. The rest follows through. These will remain complicated, as you said, even in the question. What are some of the things that we can't do? Well, we have to first fix the way we do them.
Don't sit down quite yet. What specifically would you start with? Just very quickly, what specifically would you start with?
You have to make healthcare available and affordable for everyone. You have to make childcare available to everyone. You have to recognize that we need hundreds of thousands of more migrants in the United States to have a growing economy, and you need a system to do that. Do you see how these are all interrelated? It's not just one thing. Can we throw the price on this? Can we lift the tariffs?
That was several counts. Can I start with one? Okay, thank you.
Appreciate the overtime.
I'm going to force everyone into overtime if we need to. So specifically, what would you do on affordability?
Don't force me into overtime, please. So, first is, thank you, Phil, for closing with it. It's repealing Trump's unlawful tariffs. The cost of tariffs come back on everyday American people. When the cost of goods go up, because a lot of our things, even if they're made in America, those resources come from other countries. The increase of those prices is coming onto the backs of everyday Americans. First, repeal those tariffs. Second, it's banning price gouging. I know price gouging sounds like a buzzword, but let me paint a picture for you. Instacart, which a lot of people use to get their groceries, in a 2-mile radius, 5 different people were charged 5 different prices for the price of a dozen eggs. That should be illegal. That is unlawful, and that is a great example of how corporations are profiting off of us. So while billionaires continue to line their pockets and members of the House continue to invest in stocks and also line their pockets, it's the everyday Americans that get left behind. It's bought versus unbought right now, and that's why having a member of the House that is unbought is so necessary. So it's banning congressional stock trading as well. It's diversifying and increasing. So right now, only 5% of U.S. government contracts go to women. Let's increase that to 15%, right? It's demanding the U.S. government to invest in different types of businesses so the same 10, 12 rich families in this country don't continue to just get rich. And everything that we talked about today and will continue to talk about is an affordability issue, which is why it's all interrelated in that way. Those would be some of the 3 concrete things that I would do. Do you need me to go over time?
You said you'd start with tariffs, right?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay,
Let's
thank you.
test them. Thank you.
I'm also a no on tariffs. But I also think one of the things we have to recognize is we all would love universal health care and universal free day. I'm happy to spend the last minute of this answer talking about that, but there are some concrete things that we can do right now and some things that, maybe things will really change. Maybe everyone will change their mind on the right, but we have to be prepared. So first off, I want to expand constituent services. In our campaign, we use our resources to not just reach folks, but actually materially improve their lives. We work with a vast network of direct action and mutual aid groups. We help people find shelter. We quote them. If you need, some spare Narcan, come into our office. You can pick it up, no questions asked. We need to make constituent services even more expansive. There is money set aside for constituent services in every office, no matter who the president is. And so we can use that for a public service campaign, so people know that they exist in the first place, know who to call if they can't get their social security check or if their cousin is picked up by ICE. And then also institute a chat feature to make it more accessible, because who nowadays likes to stay on voicemail for 2 weeks? Additionally, we need to be playing hardball on budgets and on votes. I feel like a lot of Democratic leadership is allergic to the idea of leverage. Just yesterday, only 57 Democrats voted no on a bill that would cut funding from the UN, the IRS, and add funding for more military operations and for more war crimes overseas. And I would have also voted no on that. As far as what I would like to see, we need a Marshall Plan for the government. We need abundance not associated with Ezra Klein, just abundance. We are the richest country in the world. There is no reason anyone should have medical debt. There is no reason someone should have to quit their job because it's cheaper to do that than to have 2 parents working because you have to take care of a kid. We need to be investing in every part of our country. All of these issues are inextricable from each other. Climate, education, housing, groceries, healthcare, protections against price gouging, universal healthcare, and building more housing with federal incentives to work with local companies, like I said, saves us money.
Okay, that's a lot. So where would you start? Again, where would you start?
Tariffs and constituent services.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe things will really change. Maybe everyone will change their mind on the right.
I just think about growing up in public housing just a mile away from here. And I think about my mom staying up late at night as a single mother, trying to make undignified decisions between paying for rent to keep her salon open in Rogers Park or buying healthcare for her 2 kids. And I don't think that's right in our community. I don't think that it's right in our neighborhoods of Rogers Park, West Rogers Park, Westridge. There are so many people that struggle like this who shouldn't have to make these kind of decisions. I think about growing up. There are some folks that are running in this race that talk about SNAP. I know what it's like to live on a food stamp because there were times when that was the only way that my family was going to eat as a child. And so I have a deep sense of urgency on these issues around economic insecurity and why in Congress I would bring forth legislation to raise the minimum wage. We haven't done this in 20 years. It's ridiculous. No one can live on $7.25 an hour. We need to raise the minimum wage to $25 an hour. It is in my campaign platform at MikeSimmons.org. I will fight for that. I would also introduce legislation that would create universal health, universal child care in our country. I have a proposal in my platform that talks about this under the economic security section. We've got to do better by our parents out here. I think about my mom struggling to take care of her kids, struggling to keep the lights on. And in America, we can do a lot better than this. And what we need is people in Congress who have the backbone and have the lived experiences to understand what it is like to grow up this way, and will do everything that they can to make sure that the next generation doesn't have to experience that. I would also bring forth legislation to break up the private equity firms that continue to buy single-family homes in the 9th District as far away as Algonquin and Crystal Lake and right on down in Evanston and Skokie. Private equity firms are marking their territory right now. We got to fight back. I want our communities to remain diverse and affordable, and it's going to take a real fight with big corporations to make that happen. My life story is anchored in fighting these big corporations that took advantage of my mother and my family, and that is a large part of why I'm running for Congress, is to fight for those folks.
take a real fight.
Thank you for this question. Economics is the bread and butter issue. And many of my colleagues up here mentioned things. I had a conversation with a man yesterday who owns a small business, and he's afraid he has to shut his doors because his prices have gone up so much because of the tariffs, and his premiums for insurance have gone up so much that it's unaffordable for him right now. One of the issues that we really need to focus on is affordable housing. There was an article that came out not too long ago that said the first time a young person now may be able to afford their first home is at the age of 40. And that is completely unacceptable. We need to be creative. Right here in Illinois, I passed legislation to create the Cook County Trust Fund. What this fund does is it allows us to invest in properties that are available for lower income before the venture capitalists can purchase those properties and hike up the rent or sell those properties for a price that is unaffordable to most people. We also need to look at healthcare. And yes, I truly believe in Medicare for all. But I've also done some creative things here in Illinois by passing rate review so our Department of Insurance can reject rates that are too high. I also passed legislation that says nobody's healthcare dollars and premiums can go towards a CEO's bonus because this is getting out of hand. Another thing, increasing the minimum wage. If you are working full time, there is no reason you should not be able to support your family. And we also have to look at tax credits, the earned income tax credit and the child tax credit. Those need to be increased so our low-income friends and neighbors have more money in their pockets so they can put more food on their tables.
Okay, so you would start with affordable housing. Okay, and Mike, I'm sorry, you missed. You would start with increasing the minimum wage, or where would you start? Just summarizing what you said.
In terms of the minimum wage,
In terms of addressing affordability from day one.
in the first 10 days of Congress, I would bring forward 7 bills that would address a rent freeze for our housing, that would create universal child care, that would raise the minimum wage, that would also bring grants to our small businesses, that would crack down, do a billionaire tax on big corporations and billionaires that don't pay for their capital gains offshore. They continue to use those as tax havens. We could take that money and put it back into housing.
Okay, there one. I was asking for one. Okay, got it. All right, fair enough. Danny.
Remember when you praised us for following the rules up here? Bunch of politicians. You can't trust us with anything. Okay. I'm going to also break the rules and give a two-part answer. Part one, I want to talk about affordable housing because every affordability related issue, you're going to run into the same problem, which is powerful interest and the need to be willing to ruffle feathers to make something happen. I've lived a career on the line as mayor of Evanston fighting for affordable housing so that it would become legal to build housing for public school teachers to afford, or for the nurses, firefighters who work in our community to be able to afford, to change the zoning law so that would become a possibility. People told me, the fight's not worth it. You're going to piss off too many people. It's too hard. But I stayed in it, and we're going to get it done. I say that, first of all, because that willingness to be in the fight is critical, but also because that specific approach can be taken to Washington. If you were to say in Washington, hey, transportation dollars are going to be allocated to the communities that have land use policies that mean they'll be used most efficiently, all of a sudden, cities and states across the country are going to change their policies. We're going to have more affordable housing near transit. It's doable and it's critical. But second of all, I want to back up a little bit on this affordable issue, Nick, if I could, and say we've watched for 50 years of big corporations have gotten bigger and more consolidated, use their monopoly power to come after us, and labor unions have shrunk, and the balance of the power has moved. And that's why we have billionaires in control. That's why we have this affordability crisis. I'm proud to be endorsed not only by the AFL-CIO of Illinois, the Jansen House, but by Senator Elizabeth Warren as well, because I've been in this fight and we need to go to Washington, enforce our antitrust laws, tax the very wealthy, and rebuild a strengthened labor movement for a 21st century economy to shift power back in the hands of working people.
Okay, so you broke it with the two parts. Where would you start? Just to recap very quickly, where would you start?
I will return back to following the rules and say, by definition, what I said first is where I start.
All right. I've heard a lot of people talking about America has lost its ability to talk to each other civilly, to work together, to collaborate. I've also heard a lot of people saying, to hell with that, those guys are fascists, we need to stand up with fascists. And I've heard a mix of this tonight on this stage. So what I'm going to ask each of you is, working with Republicans when you're in Congress, are you in or are you out? How would you do it? And specifically name an issue that you would or you would not absolutely work with Republicans on. Let's start with you, Daniel.
I will always work with anyone to move forward policies that improve the quality of life of people who I serve. That's literally our job. So I'll give you an example of an issue that's really important to me, where there may well be opportunities to work across party lines, right? I get it. There's issues where there aren't. There's issues that have become hyper-partisan, and I don't want to pretend otherwise. I'm not going to persuade conservative Republicans on abortion or climate change. But look at issues like, for example, the regulation of social media. That's a real problem. We are seeing the ways in which information travels, the way in which attention is monetized, the way in which people relate to one another, the fracturing of society, the erosion of social capital. We are seeing it rock the core of how we organize ourselves as a society. And America, I'm sorry to say, is way behind in grappling with this as a real serious problem because our Congress has kind of given up on solving problems. Our politics are so small, so unambitious. They see this fundamental problem in the middle of our society and they kind of say, well, hopefully someone else does something about it. That is an opportunity to do good. And it's also an opportunity to build coalitions that might not be obviously visible because it's on an issue that affects everyone, where the concerns are severe and intense and emotional, and the partisan battle lines haven't yet been drawn because the solutions haven't yet been thought of. That's the kind of issue where you need to have ideas and then have relationships across the aisle and understand who you might have a shot bringing your way, and then be willing to stretch yourself to partner with people who you might find repulsive in other issues, but who you know you can work with to move forward on something really important.
Laura, how about you? How and when would you work with Republicans, if you would? Wasn't intentional, Thomas.
Thank you. We are in a pivotal moment in our nation's history, and our children are seeing so much bickering in government that they want to know, where can government work for them? And the best example I'm going to give you is my mental health committee. I chair the mental health committee in the Illinois Senate. And I always challenge people who tell me that Republicans and Democrats don't get along to come and sit on my committee and point out to me who is from which party. Because with my minority spokesperson, who is the complete opposite of me, she's from Southern Illinois, she's Trump-loving, pro-life, pro-gun, but I've gotten to know her. And I've gotten to know about her family. And she's gotten to know about my family. So as a result of this relationship and knowing we're human and knowing that there are some issues we're never going to agree on, but there are other issues that we are. As a result of that, the people of Illinois have benefited. I've been able to pass some of the most powerful mental health parity bills in the entire country because we have been able to get along and get it done for our people within our state. We have been able to pass legislation that says if you need mental health treatment in an intensive outpatient way or inpatient, you do not need prior authorization from your insurance company. These are issues that cross party lines, that we can work on together to better the lives of the people that we serve.
I think this is a really important question. Congress is a broken institution because so many people are so concerned with punching someone in the mouth and getting likes and not solving real problems for people in our communities. In the Illinois Senate, I've been proud to pass 50 bills in less than 5 years. That's a record. And a number of those bills got Republican votes because I sat down and I talked to them. For example, I passed legislation in the area of public transit that removes ridiculous requirements that those that are seniors have to keep going in every 2 years to certify that they're a senior, or for folks that are disabled to have to go in every 2 years to certify that. These things are ridiculous that we put these requirements on people. And so would you believe that was a fight in the Illinois Senate? I had to fight to get that bill called for hearing because lobbyists didn't want to do it because the transit agencies don't want to do things differently. I fought on that. I organized my seniors and folks in the disability community. We passed that legislation with bipartisan votes. So public transit is an area in Congress I want to be a champion on. I use our public transit. I'm on the 49B Western a lot as your state senator. I'm on the 290 going down Toohey. I'm on the red line, brown line. I grew up on public transit committee. I will fight for it in Congress. I also think in the area of water. I've been a champion for water in the Illinois Senate. I'm a champion for our environment. I'm a champion for our Great Lakes. I've gotten Republicans to vote for legislation that codifies Biden-era requirements on limits on PFAS and forever chemicals in our water supplies. That took a fight, but I sat down and I had conversations with them, and we were able to pass that legislation, even though Trump has now gutted those limits across the country. Another area I would talk about where I would not work with Republicans is when they dog whistle on LGBTQ families. I'm proud to be the only LGBTQ person serving in the Illinois Senate. If I win this primary, I would become only the third openly gay and Black person to ever take the oath of office in the U.S. House of Representatives. That can start right here. And in that context, I would not have a lot of time to work with people like Marjorie Taylor Greene that think I should exist or that me and my partner should not be able to get married. I'm not going back in the closet, and I can't work with a Republican that wakes up in the morning and thinks that I ought not exist in our society. And so I will work with Republicans where it makes sense, and I will call them out when I need to.
So my specialty in my career is understanding, analyzing, and communicating about conspiracy theories and extremism, which has taken over a lot of Republican leadership. But I always tell people, if someone wants to engage with you, there are always bigoted people. If someone wants you to justify your existence, you don't have to talk with them. But if someone's trying to engage in good faith, I try to do so as well. But when it comes to Congress, it's a little bit different because everyone wants to get the sound bites. So there are two issues specifically, besides what we talked about with Customs and Border Protection earlier, that I think that we can get bipartisan support for. First is a stock trading bill, which already has bipartisan support. But I also want to spearhead AI regulation at the federal level. There are currently 0 federal regulations for artificial intelligence, and it is devastating our society at all types of levels. Our kids are being used as guinea pigs for AI models. I think that we can also not only take that out of schools, but when your phone asks if you accept cookies when you open Safari, forcing companies to ask users to opt in to their data being used to train large language models. Also the Make Polluters Pay movement, which is very big in Illinois. I think we should be applying that to AI data centers as well, and ensure that we have more laws to protect the work of artists and likenesses of people, like the No Fakes Act, so that way companies can't be using our lives, or in the case of Elon Musk, our children, for profit. This is the only thing or one of the only things that didn't make it through Trump's big BS bill last year. Even Republicans were like, you don't want us to regulate AI at the state level for 10 years? That's crazy. For Republicans to say that? So I think we have a perfect time to be able to capitalize on this movement, to be able to protect people at all levels of society, and to be able to hold big tech accountable.
So I've knocked doors in Uptown and in Crystal Lake, which is about 70 miles apart. And even though it's mostly been in the Democratic parts of those districts, the Democratic primary, may as well be knocking and talking to those that are Democrats and Republicans, right? That is how different some of the thoughts, opinions, and beliefs are. And I found that the what of what everyday Americans want is actually the same. But the how of bringing them on board is where it differs, different talking points. So to me, I'll never compromise on my values and stuff. I will always be someone that stands true. What Republicans call illegal aliens, I call my neighbors, right? While Republicans are obsessed with a woman and what she does with her body, I believe in a woman's right to choose. There are some places where that compromise just fundamentally cannot exist. But I would never want partisanship to get in the way of progress. And I'll give you the Marjorie Taylor Greene example. Yes, she's anti-Semitic, she's homophobic, she's Islamophobic, but we saw her stand up to demand the release of the Epstein files, one of the only ones from her party affiliation to do so, right? We saw her vote for an amendment that would prevent further military aid to Israel. That, in an example, is something that I would be willing to do as well if it's not popular within the party. What I would work with Republicans for is, one, it's increasing options for public funded education, not only the K through 12 level, but college education, trade school. We see that the Republican Party wants American first workforce. Great. Let's invest in a pipeline to help make that happen, because we're in the worst job market and economy that our country has ever seen. Folks saying it's worse than the 2008 crisis as well. I would also work bipartisanship lines and laws to invest in safer communities and taxing billionaires to pay their fair share. Republicans like lower taxes. I would argue I like lower taxes too, right? It's so expensive to live these days that I think that would be a bipartisanship issue that would benefit both Democrats and Republicans. Thank you.
I've got a unique skill set when it comes to negotiation. As a hostage negotiator, I've worked with people who have fundamentally disagreed and have a very different idea of what the outcome should be. In the most dire of circumstances, when life has been on the line, I think to still bring peace. I run a consultancy called PAX. It's Peace in Mind. We have folks from conservative, liberal, gay, workforce, military, intelligence, psychiatric, and counseling backgrounds. On one team to be able to respond to other people's crises. What we have going for us at this moment is our diversity and our humanity.